And again, I want to apologize because this is what was being drained out of my elbow this morning. I go to him, I got to take a picture of this. So they just drained this out of my elbow this morning. So I did my best to rush over. I was a little late because I also stopped for a chicken biscuit at Chick-fil-A. Sorry, I've got that disease. Anyway, good morning to you, sir. Apparently, I'm still having a better morning than anybody in the Miami Dolphins building. How you doing?
Good morning, Big O. Hope your elbow's doing well, and can't blame you for making a stop at Chick-fil-A. I mean, that sounds like that'll make any morning better.
Yeah, although I happen to have the worst Chick-fil-A in my neighborhood, the one on 120th and Kendall Drive. They don't do a good job with the biscuit itself. The biscuit itself, they don't really know how to make it fluffy. Like the one in Doral is really good. They know how to do it.
Oh, I've been to that one, yeah.
Yeah, they know how to do it right. The one in Doral. Most of the Chick-fil-A's know how to do it right, but the one I have by my neighborhood, they make a soggy biscuit, which kind of sucks, So, but hey, whatever, bro. The chicken is delicious. So I had to
soggy.
Yeah, soggy. Even soggy, I have to deal with it, unfortunately. But what are you gonna do? The soggy situation is what we've been talking about all off season. The front office and these people, they don't want them to trade. They can't trade Tyreek, and they can't trade Jalen, and they can't trade anybody because it will set them back and set their cap space back, and they're trying to save their jobs. Well, the people that can get off are trying to get off, and now Jalen Ramsey's the newest one. This mutual stuff, nobody believes that, dude. Nobody. How's it mutual that they're going to lose $7 million of cap space now? If they trade them, that's $7 million they have less to sign players and draft picks and everything.
So, I think it might even be 9. I think
it might be 9. Look at that, bro. I mean, I know it's like a ridiculous number already. So this mutual shit is bull crap. But this is the worst part about it is people from inside see it imploding. I don't know if we've talked enough about it. I know we have on our show on how bad. I've already told people I have no hope for this season. I'm not even looking forward to this season because they've got nothing. There's no way. McDaniel had better teams the last 2 years. We're asking him to become an incredible coach to be able to overcome all of this. The Jalen Ramsey request of a trade sends a huge message, David. Huge message.
Yeah, the mutual part of it, I kind of laugh at it, scoff at it too, because it's mutual once you put the word out there, but it had to start from somewhere, and it definitely started with Jalen Ramsey coming to the Dolphins and saying he wants a trade. Then sure, once you have to confirm it, then it goes both ways. Yeah, well, we mutually want to trade him as well. Yeah, once he says he wants out, but although that's not the route that they did go with Tyreek Hill, because I guess they figured they could get him to sort of reverse course and get back on track. He just blew up that one day, and then he would like to be in Miami. So he can go back and forth.
And he
knows what he wants.
David, he has no value. You're not getting anything in return for Tyreek. The most they're going to give you is a late third-day pick because nobody's taking a risk on him. At least with Jalen Ramsey, you could probably get back a decent second, third-round pick or something, or a third and a fourth, or 2 fourths or something. I don't know. But you're going to get at least some kind of a pick out of him because people can count on him to play and be a professional and in that sense. But the message that Jalen Ramsey is sending to everybody, that's not a good one, dude. Like I want the hell out of this place. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, from his perspective, and he's not one to open up too much, and it's not like we're going to hear it straight from him. He wouldn't be revealing that way in the media setting, but it is telling that he kind of views this as probably, okay, you're in sort of like your twilight years. You're getting out of your prime. You're wasting years in your NFL career, valuable seasons. And this thing in Miami didn't turn out the way you thought when you looked for a trade out of the Rams. When, remember, they were the ones rebuilding, and now the Rams are ahead of the Dolphins. I think about the same thing when I look at the Texans, how they got to back-to-back divisional rounds. Now with C.J. Stroud, the Laramie Tunsil trade, and it was like they rebuilt after that. The Dolphins had their number 3 pick, and then the Texans went through a whole rebuild and then also passed the Dolphins. It's incredible how some of this happens, but both for the Rams and for the Chiefs, moving on from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey, both of them also passing the Dolphins. It's wild how a lot of this works out, and Jalen Ramsey wanted to go to a contender when the Rams were in that rebuild, and then suddenly all it results to is 2 wild card playoff appearances, no playoff wins, and then the Rams are right back in it, and they're winning a playoff game and competing to the last play in the divisional round against the eventual Super Bowl champion in the Eagles. And you look at that in comparison, and you're like, man, I gotta go find myself another situation again. So I don't blame him from Ramsey's perspective.
Only thing is, who at this point, who has $20 million of cap space? Is he looking for another extension? Because that's probably what you're going to have to do if you trade. Whoever trades for him is probably going to have to give him an extension to kind of extend the salary to a certain extent, right? I mean, so what are we talking about here trade-wise, if it can even happen, and you'd like for it to happen before the draft too? So what are we talking about now? Who are we looking at right now?
Yeah, think about it. 2 years ago, it was a 3rd rounder and Hunter Long as a tight end that was seldom used that the Dolphins traded for Ramsey. So that was, with given his contract, that was already kind of like just apples to oranges. The trade that you had was a steal to get a player of the caliber of Ramsey for that. But obviously, you're taking on his contract. So even more so now, it would be, I'm just some kind of day 3 pick. Now, it could be a great trade piece to. Now you take the best offer you get before the draft. If there's an incredible offer that you can't refuse, go for it. But he could be an incredible trade piece on draft day if a team gets desperate, maybe struck out on a corner they wanted, or if the Dolphins want to move into a spot, that's a great asset to just be able to shop around and tell a competing team, hey, you can get Jalen Ramsey right now if you give us this pick where we're trying to move into, and then whatever other pick swaps just make the math work as far as the value chart, then sure, that could be an asset to use on draft day, but not one that the Dolphins were expecting to be shopping around, one that the Dolphins would have preferred to be building around with a secondary that already would have had Jalen Ramsey. And now cornerback becomes not just a need for the Dolphins, the highest priority need for the Dolphins on draft day.
Okay. I need to find logic. I need to find direction. I need to find what my motivation is. Example, I have the Achilles surgery in my foot. I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to be stuck in a bed for 3 months. What's my motivation? You know what? I'm going to lose weight. I lost 34 pounds while I'm in bed. Okay, so I found direction and motivation in that. You know what I'm saying? And so I tend to try to see in anything in life, if you're faced with adversity, okay, now let's find a target. Let's find some motivation. Let's find a goal. What's the end game here for Dolphin fans? What's the end game for the organization? Please don't tell me winning. You're not. You can try to sell winning to people if you want, but you don't have the coach that'll get it done. You don't have a team that's better than the one from the last 2 years. So you've taken steps back the last couple of years because you blew your load. You spent the money. You had your window. Now you can't. Now you don't have the money. Now you can't spend it. You're not going to win. You're trying to sell us bullshit about winning. And wait a minute. So then if you're not going to win and you're going to end up firing people at the end of the year, then what are you doing with this draft? Are you going to allow, McDaniel or whoever else to put an imprint on a draft that next year somebody else takes over for? So what is the end game here? What's the method behind the madness? Are you moving on without McDaniel next year and the front office is still staying? Or are you actually doing everything, going through the process of the entire draft and a season only to blow everybody out? And then next year, whoever comes in, you know how it goes. I like these players. I don't like these players. This one fits. That one doesn't fit. And so you're back to the reason why we've had a ton of talent go through this roster the last couple of years. And a lot of them are playing in other places. And you either kept the wrong people or let the wrong people go. And that's because you've had so much turnover in coaches, offense, defense, head coaches, all of that. And that doesn't allow any continuity. Another disruptive year of not having whatever it is in place for next year. What's the end game here? Please explain to me what you're trying to do. That's what I want to know. David, explain what they're trying to do now.
This is what perplexes me so much, Big O, and I wish I could answer and have some kind of explanation, some kind of answer for what it is for the Dolphins. But now the timeline's all over the place now because the whole basis, as I continued to answer to you all last season when it was about you were telling me that the Dolphins should get rid of Mike McDaniel, and I would say, well, you committed to this core and you're committed to this win now window, and you got to give it another shot after you had 2 playoff appearances and you're going for it, and you dished out all this money in contract extensions to not only extending Mike McDaniel's contract himself, but to Tua, to Jalen Waddle, to Jalen Ramsey, adding guarantees to Tyreek Hill's contract. So that's a commitment to going for it. And then now, as you start to break this down with, on top of everything else, Teron Armstead retiring, Calais Campbell leaving in free agency. Now Jalen Ramsey wants out. That's a lot of your veteran core. Tyreek Hill has voiced that he wants out, but then is back on board and this and that and has another incident come up every month. Then that's just a huge blow to that core and that commitment that you've made. And now it's, you are bringing back the guys at the top, but it's also in what might be classified, and Chris Greer probably wouldn't say this when he speaks later today, in a pre-draft press conference, but it's looking like at the very least a soft rebuild when you have all these draft picks and you have the veteran players that I mentioned departing and other guys not exactly 100% on board. And then now it's this Greer and McDaniel combination drafting for what is sort of this new infusion of young talent that if things don't work out this year, now it's not, it's them leading it, and maybe they're drafting for the next regime's start to whatever plan they'll have if it turns out that way. So it's really all over the place when I look at this, and it's perplexing that now it's going to be this in between of the win now window is kind of gone, and it's bringing in this new young talent. And really, I think now Greer and McDaniel are going to be judged, and this would be a cheap way to continue their regime. But it's not going to be by a playoff win. It's if it looks promising from this draft class that they bring in, combined with what's already there. If there are enough promising pieces that you say there is a future here, and if it doesn't, then I would be looking in another direction again, where the next regime would be, like you said, piecing some of those pieces together with what they want to move forward with in the future.
See, the way I see it right now, because I don't know what the plan is. You never get to talk to Stephen Ross anymore, so you really don't know what the plan is above, the general manager. And unfortunately, and as much as I've been a believer in the front office side of it and the personnel side, the coaching side of it has been a disaster, unfortunately. And I'm being honest, which I'm usually brutally honest here about everything. I tell Dolphins, you're 3 years away from the rebuild because you have to go through this season, whether you keep McDaniel or not, which there's a good chance you're going to change. And if you're going to change him, do you change? Does the general manager get to hire his third coach? Probably not. So if you do change general managers, then everybody else that comes in, it and I know it. I talked about all the money issues. The money issues continue into next year. You have a few salaries that you have to hang on to again, because if not, they're cap crippling. And if you want to then release them, that's fine. But it's another year of a kind of a disaster. You're 3 years away from actually the real rebuild starting, for this team. And that's crazy, dude. That's absolute insanity that people are going to have to hang around. This is not the only dead year. Next year easily will be a dead year. And then the year after, if you're kind of starting a rebuild, then it's another kind of like dead year because you're rebuilding. There's really not, it's not just about this season. There's not a lot to look forward to in the near future, period.
Yeah.
Period.
And it's already been 25 years. It's already been 25 years of this, Pico. And then now when you have to tear it all down, and it's like you can't even tear it all down in one fell swoop. It's just you've made all these commitments, which is why I would always say, like, no, you have to run it back because you already committed to all this. It's that there is no just quick rebuild to break it all down. It's not like you can just get rid of all the contracts, start brand new, and then draft your future with some high draft picks. You're drafting in the middle again, much like a lot of those years where this franchise for the past 2 decades was inept. It was kind of just stuck in the middle. Yeah, you're not going with a big early draft pick, and you're not a playoff team consistently vying down the road and picking at the end of the draft. So it's just that sort of worst place to be. And now the Dolphins are right back in it. And the only way is because it's much less likely that they just go the winning route with everything, this mass exodus that's happening. You got to go back to the start. And then it's just, you're another few years down the road on that, on seeing the fruits of that. So it's already been 25 years. And then we're going to start going up on 30 by the time the Dolphins can seriously make another run at a playoff win.
Yeah, this has been going on for over 40 years, bro. 40 years.
Yeah.
The Marino years, we were a bunch of chokers too. The few places that Marino got to, we choked every time. And it wasn't Marino's fault. I'm not blaming ever him. I'm just saying the same issues that exist now have always existed for 40 years. This team doesn't understand that you win at the line of scrimmage. They have no concept of that. They don't really understand that if you dominate at the line of scrimmage, that's what gives you a chance to win. Even if you don't have great talent on the edges at times, you can sometimes overcome that. Not in every spot, but sometimes in like the Chiefs. They haven't had great receivers yet. They traded their great receiver and they went on to win 2 titles. You know what I mean? And went to another Super Bowl and lost it, but they lost it. Why? Because they didn't have the offensive line, not because they didn't have the receivers. They had more than enough receivers with that quarterback in order to win. And it's just the weirdest thing that for 40 years, whether you have Marino, whether you have Fiedler, whether you have whoever, bro, it doesn't matter. They don't win at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. And look what they're doing this year. So far, they haven't fixed the offensive line. We don't even know if they have anyways, we don't even know what Daniels will be, and we don't know what their left guard will be. And then at defensive tackle, you got nobody outside of Sealer. So it's just like, it's crazy how it's habitually the same problem for 40 years. They rarely ever dominate on both lines. And when they won in the 70s, why do you think they won? Fucking Greasy threw 6 passes in a Super Bowl. You don't have to pass much if your offensive line's going to dominate and you got 3 running backs to hand it off to. I mean, it's just stupid. And the game really hasn't changed. And he who wins at the line of scrimmage wins. And the same problems just, it's just, it's Groundhog Day, as Dave Hyde would say.
Yeah. You mentioned the line of scrimmage. I think back to 2023 and what a missed opportunity it really was, because you actually had what was your strongest point on both lines in this recent regime, where you still had Teron Armstead, you had Connor Williams there, you had Robert Hunt still in the building, Austin Jackson growing, and he actually went on to have a good season that year, the one that got him the contract extension. And Isaiah Wynn was showing promise in those first 7 games before he got hurt. So the injury bug killed you on the offensive line with Isaiah Wynn going out for the season, Connor Williams missing some time, and then also then he went on season-ending IR once he had that Titans game, that ACL tear in December. And then also Armstead, of course, he had some time on IR, had to come back. And then on the defensive line, you had Zach Sealer with his first double-digit sack season, and Christian Wilkins. You had them together, both of them putting up those that interior pass rush, but then also the run stopping that they provide on the D-line. With also Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb on the edge until each of them had their season-ending injuries. So what an opportunity that was derailed by injury, and then eventually just the slow progression of guys leaving with Wilkins and Hunt on each line that offseason, and then it just continued. Obviously, Connor Williams, it was going to be tough for him coming off the ACL. Now he's retired, but he was actually pretty good with Seattle for a little bit there last season. But it's been devastating that was a solid trench group on both sides, and then it was an opportunity wasted, and there you have it. Now you're right back to needing a lot of help on both the O-line and D-line.
Just all right. So what does the knucklehead do now? Because the knucklehead's going to get motivated now all of a sudden and want to revisit a trade when the knucklehead doesn't realize that nobody wants his ass anyway. And if anybody's going to get, they're going to give away a pick. Now, he doesn't give a shit what they give away, because all he wants is to get off of this sinking ship. Like everybody else is getting off. Well, anybody has a chance to get off the sinking ship is going to get off the sinking ship. So what does the knucklehead do now? What are we expecting from the knucklehead?
Yeah, I could very easily see him just again throwing up one of these, and maybe it's in a troll. Well, you never know with Tyreek. Maybe he legitimately again does want out. If you're looking from his perspective, like Jalen Ramsey, he's getting up there in age, and if he wants to win, then it would behoove him to
stay here. You don't stay here to win.
Yeah, I think we covered that part of it. But he also has said that he values being in Miami and he likes being down here. So I could easily just see him accepting it for what it is, and he's gone back and forth on this so much that just this offseason alone. Now that you have the added wrench thrown in there of Jalen Ramsey wanting out, then that could be some added motivation again to revisit that, and maybe he wants out of it as well. And hey, for the Dolphins, just get rid of those two high-priced. Now, again, it's going to hurt you in terms of cap space, but it could be more draft pick.
Explain that to people. I've been trying to explain that to people all offseason. These guys don't want to trade anybody. They cannot. Their jobs are on the line. They're going to lose cap space. Like this Ramsey trade is a double whammy for them. Like, not only do you lose Jalen Ramsey, but now you lose more cap space that you cannot make up. And oh my God, that's just it's insanity, bro.
You know what it tells you? Just this is the lesson to be learned. You can't make everyone happy. That's what the Dolphins tried to do last offseason. Because first Jalen Waddle got his contract extension. Okay, because you see he was your number 6 overall pick, and through his first 3 years, 1,000 yards every season, and he fits the offense, and he's developing well. So yeah, you want to lock him in before the price of wide receivers goes up a lot. So you go and get that contract done at what was a reasonable cost at the time. Now you got to get Tua extended. So before early in that training camp, you get him the contract extension. Then, well, now Tyreek Hill says, hey, everyone else is getting money, and so I want my guarantees added to my contract. The year's already on there. So, all right, we'll make you happy too. We go ahead and give you that. Jalen Ramsey gets his contract extension right before week 1 last year because now all of a sudden, after free agency and the offseason, he was no longer the highest paid cornerback. All right, we'll make you the highest paid cornerback again, so we'll give you this contract extension. Mike McDaniel, you've gotten us to 2 straight playoff appearances, and we're dishing out all this money to these players. We want to also extend your contract. And then all of that breaks down in one season, and everyone that you tried to make happy has either now let you down or has voiced that they want it out. So in terms and in Tyreek Hill, both. In Tyreek Hill, both he has let you down with his play last season, and he voiced he wanted out. Gone back.
Yeah, but you know what?
There's Ramsey wants out.
Yeah, but there's another story there in that one. That there was a rift in that building. Okay, there are people that did not want to guarantee this final year that they did now, and so it's interesting how they weren't going to do it, and then they changed their mind, and a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, it just smells of Mike McDaniel, politicking all over the place for players, and because he's too much of an advocate for players and he gives people too many second and third chances, and it just smells of that. I don't have any proof. I don't have any proof whatsoever of that, but I do have proof on this. I know for a fact there was a rift in that building about guaranteeing what they did to Tyreek. There were people in the building that did not want to do it. So when they did it, and now they've paid the price for it now, because they could have been ridden of him, and they would have had some cap space too, which would have helped out. That's an issue there in that place right now. It's and I think it comes. That's where my guess comes. The Mike McDaniel soft approach has been kind of a disease for this team, to be quite honest.
That's honestly a fair assumption to make, and I too wouldn't have any solid evidence or proof of Mike McDaniel being the one to spearhead all those efforts, but it would fall in line with his personality and just some of his core principles of being just a guy for the players. It's one of the things that made him great through the assistant coaching ranks, and then quickly getting through being an offensive coordinator just one season before he grew into a head coach. But then also sort of something that once you're in that head role, maybe you need to temper a little bit and just bring it down a notch and realize that now you have a bigger focus than just the guys that you coach in your position group and going all out for them and giving them every extra opportunity and there's a bigger picture to see when you're in that head job. So I can see that, and then also like we've mentioned in the previous show, then that's also on Chris Greer to, if he's hearing it from Mike McDaniel, and he's got to then at some point be the adult in the room and cut off some of what McDaniel wants and giving out all these contracts and making everyone happy. Just, you've got a cap to manage and a roster to manage, and then you have to marry those two things into something that that allows you to operate, and you have to be able to find when you can make those moves and when you got to say, no, sorry, this is where I draw the line.
All right, man. So what are you selling here? Because you certainly can't sell hope here, right? Or because I haven't been selling hope at all for this season. I've been telling folks I expect a bad season, and the peak of it is going to be the game in Spain, because it's a novelty playing in Spain against the Bengals. Hopefully, it'll be a fun game, and that's about it. I'm not, to be quite honest, I don't know how you can expect anything from this team this year. I got to be honest. I don't give a shit what the draft brings. What are you going to do? You're going to tell me you're going to pick up like 7 Pro Bowlers in the draft? Oh, okay, well, maybe you got a shot. But, to ask a bunch of rookies to all of a sudden step up and help carry you, that's so unrealistic. What are we selling the Dolphins for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I would imagine when Chris Greer gets up and speaks later today, it will be that saying that the team is still trying to win now, but at the same time is putting new pieces together, and that's just it's a tough sell, honestly. So if you're really looking at it objectively, so I would say realistically, then you just want in this season that some of those young pieces start to show some promise, and you're not judging it so much anymore on whether they get a playoff win. I think that part is kind of passed you by. You knew you had that window, and then you tried to maybe like extend it another year after that, and say, okay, maybe they could do it in 2025, maybe in 2026 if it's this, and that. But it's just hard to envision that part of it. It's a huge bonus if somehow it turns into that, but it's hard to envision the way it's all constructed right now and the way it's looking, and the exodus of veteran talent. So I would just say you're hoping that some of those young pieces start to show some promise, and between last year's draft class, the one that's coming in this year, maybe with even more pieces in the draft, because if you trade Jalen Ramsey, and maybe if you also end up trading Tyreek Hill, you end up with some more draft picks, but you need to hit on some of those, and then that's kind of what you're hoping for, is that you see some promise that leads you to some sense of belief for the years down the road after this.
By the way, Welt Rheaume 954-966-4646. If you're dealing with bankruptcy issue, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, Jeff and Dan, you can call them. The consultation's completely free. 954-966-4646. We appreciate them. They're big sponsors of this platform and of this segment. All right, brother. So what's the most important question you've got to ask Chris Greer today?
I would say it is getting that answer on what this 2025 season is right now. Do you call it? Do you stand here and admit now we are now going through a rebuild, call it at least a soft rebuild, or are you going to go up there and try to sell that you are trying to win now still, even as Jalen Ramsey, your best player? I would say that.
One of your 3 best players. One of your 3 best players, let's say.
Sure, yeah. It now wants out. And Tyreek Hill has said he wants out and maybe gone back and forth on that. And a lot of that veteran core is now starting to wither away. So I don't know what he calls this offseason, everything that has transpired going into 2020.
You have to say 2 of your 3 best players have won out. One, you're already exploring a trade. The other one, you're having issues with. A leader like Calais Campbell does not return. How
a leader
are
like Toronto retires?
Yeah, well, but I mean, that guy needed like knee replacement. So I'm not even going to mention Tehran. I think the Calais Campbell one is. I'd never expect. They knew he wasn't coming back. By the way, they knew he wasn't coming back. But anyway, whatever. But the Calais Campbell one is bad because, see, the whole thing is, if you actually prove you can win and won a playoff game or 2 in the last couple of years and you were a different team, I think you would have more players on board and willing to do it. I think what you're seeing is a remnants of people saying, yeah, this ain't going to work, bro. And they've been a part of it. And, whatever, they'll respectfully, Calais will leave. Jalen's doing it as respectfully as possible. He's not doing it in public. He went behind the scenes, obviously, him and his agent. So, it is what it is. But, dude, it's hard to sell something when whatever team you build this year is not better than the last 2 years. So how can Dolphins expect anything from this team?
Yeah, I'm with you. The only way is you get a fully healthy season from Tua. You also don't get ravaged by injuries at basically every other position, which was the story of 2023, the one year that Tua did make it through fully healthy. So it would take a lot to align, and then you probably need some luck elsewhere with one of those top competing teams having a quarterback go down. Like I remember 2 years ago, that was a huge thing. How so many teams, Joe Burrow went down for the Bengals, and there was a Justin Herbert injury for the Chargers, and there's probably a few others. I can't recall off the top of my head, but I remember it was a huge year of all these quarterback injuries, and you would need a lot to sort of fall in line for it to happen, and for the running game to get back together, for Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, and Tua to get back to what they were before with Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane. Also, it would just have to be like a perfect storm of everything that you have right now. But other than that, I wouldn't get your hopes up.
All right. Can I be 25 and a 6-pack? Is that, can you throw that in there too now? Just, throw me back to 25.
Can you be 25?
Yeah. No, I mean, now you're asking for all of that. Please throw in there, make Big O 25 with a 6-pack. That's all. That's it. That's all. Okay. My wife will become a cougar, and so, so she'll be happy. You know what I'm saying? So, if we're all going to throw all that in there, anybody else got some wishes out there? You want to add in there? Because we could just pile it on, baby.
That's why it feels very unlikely, and it's coming to an end. This window that they had, and now you got to look for the future.
Dude, I've had so many Dolphins DM me, email me. Oh, please don't be so negative. Give them a chance. Maybe they'll surprise you. You've given up on the season already. I'm like, bro, what do you want me to do? I'm just not going to lie to you people. I'm not going to bullshit you because I'm trying to get clicks or views. I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, man. I just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel here. And the worst part about our conversation, just like you, just like the rest of us, where are they going? What's the direction? Because you're really not about winning, because this is not about winning this year. And so then you've already found out who this coach is for another year. Where are you going into next year? Are you making changes? And then the new changes, will they like some of the players and not like other players? And, oh my God. And it's just.
Yeah. Hey, crazier things have happened, but even at the height of everything going right for them, it still feels like the ceiling would be to either number 6 or number 7 as a wild card, and you go out in the first round easily on the road. That still feels like the ceiling. That is like the
so the ceiling is Michael Jordan.
The ceiling is the roof.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Michael, for everything else in his life, he shot for the stars. But unfortunately for these fucking guys, the roof is the ceiling. No, asshole, there are stars in this universe. We can shoot a lot farther, but so I guess we've got Michael Jordan's, standards for like losers, the ceiling. So that's it. So that's all we've got. You're telling me the roof is we can't even make it to the attic. I mean, we probably would just make it to like the what's that called? The what's the name of the drop ceiling? We're only going to make it to the drop ceiling. Is probably what it is. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Terrible. All right, what do you got going on in the Sentinel? Recap of the Greer press conference. Is he delaying it? Is he canceling it? Because if I'm him, I wouldn't even hold the damn press conference.
No, I woke up this morning to the news kind of feeling like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, like it's aligned with, all right, this is the big unveiling of the news. When it's a 7 a.m. on the dot release of it, like Ian Rappaport was on it and then probably was asked to hold it until the day that Chris Greer is going to speak, and then he's going to address everything today. So That's kind of the indication I got that this was like by design. But yeah, so it'll be recapping that. I also threw up my mock draft yesterday. Now with this Jalen Ramsey news, I might already need to put out a 2.0. But yeah, you can check out my pre-Jalen Ramsey saga mock
is
draft.
this officially a soft rebuild? Is that what you're labeling it now? Is that what you're going to label it in the paper? A soft rebuild?
That's what I would label it as. It's because you still got pieces of the core that you're trying to stick around with and win with, but then you've got so much young talent coming in to replace the veteran exodus. So it is at least a soft rebuild. Like, you're still trying to win with this team, but you're not just blowing it all up. So that's how I would label it.
Yeah, I would look at it too. All right, follow him on Twitter, David Furones _, and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, as always, thank you, my brother. We will catch up later on in the week. Should be plenty to add.
Should be a doozy.
Be good.
Yes, sir.
You got it. There you go. And of course, Welt Rheaume 954-966-4646.